All right, good morning and welcome, karibu sana, to this edition of Morning Cafe. Today being the 18th of June, the International Day for Countering Hate Speech. And I think this is quite ideal at this time where we're quite experiencing some upheaval across the country. My name is Fred Ndumuli, karibu sana.
Crazy things are happening in this country.
Oh, they're crazy.
We're very dramatic. Every day there's something new.
As in, you're hoping that tomorrow the headlines will be a bit subtler, nothing. Just getting nastier.
This is Morning Cafe. My name is Anne Odida. Karibu sana.
Ukiangalia hizi headline hata sijui 7. Kila polisi, hata bila kuangalia huko nyuma naona kila police on the Standard. And still against a black background. And you see, this means that our situation is not improving. Until the day you see the Standard go back to a white backdrop. Yeah. That means tutaanza kuwa normal. Killer police, 2-word headline.
Taifa leo, genge la teka jiji. Very sad headline.
Walikuwa na vipini jana na wanatembea na maaskari polisi. People Daily, anarchy, shooting on day of protests.
Daily Nation, anarchy.
Just one word, and I love one-word headlines. Against a black backdrop again, this tells you the state of the nation.
Business Daily, Israel-Iran war puts Kanye G2G fuel deal to the test.
Yeah, but even the Business Daily could not escape this headline here. Protests, mayhem. What was happening in town? Not something we were hoping for. Anyway, we'll be looking at the state of the nation, a not very good state, with this individual, Sabina Chege, nominated MP, Danson Mungatana, Senator Tana River, Nabina Buera Daraja, MP Lugari, and Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo at 6:30 this morning. Let's cross over to Uganda. Daily Monitor, who shot them is a question they're asking here. Dead, silent murders. Now, the charging of Senior Superintendent of Police Nixon Agasirwe with the murder of Joan Kagezi after several suspects had been arrested brings into sharp focus several unresolved murders. With the state yet to find the culprits, it begs the question, is there something more to these murders? They hear Andrew Felix Kawesi, Assistant Inspector General of Police Andrew Felix Kawesi, with his bodyguard Erau Kenneth and driver Godfrey Nambegwe were waylaid and shot dead a few meters away from his residence in Kulambiro, a Kampala suburb, on March 17, 2017. Call Ibrahim Abiriga, that is Arua Municipality Member of Parliament, was shot dead together with his bodyguard Soidi Kongo by masked men riding on motorcycles at Matuga, Wakiso District on June 8, 2018. We have Mohamed Kirumira, Assistant Superintendent of Police. Mohamed Kirumira and his female companion were shot dead in his sedan car near his home at Bulenga on Kampala Mosaka Road on September 8, 2018. And finally, Tusubira Ibrahim Lubega was murdered in 2023 in Nakawa Division in Kampala City on May. Kwani tumerogwa hii region, East Africa. Look at our headlines. It's just about shooting and killing, and most of them police involved. And it's very sad indeed. Kampala is asking the question, who shot them? We're also asking the question, who killed? At least in our situation yesterday, we saw who shot. Yes. Who did the shooting. Yes. Road to 2026. Scramble for political office in NRM, NUP, PPF, FDC, and DF. These stories have been covered in pages 6, 7, and 28. Politics also gaining momentum in Uganda. Matters business, why no one wants to buy umeme stock yet. Iran-Israel war, mapping out the conflict between Iran and Israel. And that's the Daily Monitor. Still in Uganda, let's take a look at the Daily Monitor. Yoweri Museveni lazima kupale kwa front page. Anasalamia nani leo? Tutaangalia. Lakini kwanza, flying squad busts cattle theft gang. President gives new directives on security in cattle corridor.
Na huku shida ya ng'ombe, kuiba ng'ombe inakuanga serious sana. And sometimes they steal the cattle and bring them to Kenya.
Yeah. Pale Busia.
Upande ingine huku Kachiliba, huko West Pokot, Turkana, and then we do vice versa. President Museveni advises households on wealth. Ako pale anasalamia watu wamevaa t-shirt za yellow leo. Lazima tu wakwe pale. Lazima tu kwa New Vision kukuwe na picha ya Museveni. Iran accuses G7 of siding with Israel. And yeah, I think this whatever is happening in the Middle East will definitely affect us, and we'll be looking at that, especially in matters business. Pale juu, win big at Uganda's biggest bridal expo. Oh, and I encourage watu wafanye harusi kule. Huku kwetu kunaharibika. This is Uganda. Yeah. Tuvuke bora tuingie Tanzania. Gazeti la Mwananchi.
Mpina alivyotua anga za Gwajima, Rais Samia amshukia mbele ya wapiga kura, amtaja kwenye nafasi 10 za ubunge. Bashe akumbushia ya JPM, aonya siasa kwenye zao la pamba. Masala ya siasa. Huyu ni Luhanga. Mpina asema sisi kule Kisesa tunakudai na maeneo mengine kote wanaosema hawakudai zile fedha zote zihamishe zilete Kisesa kwa sababu bado tuna mipango mingi ya maendeleo katika maeneo yetu. Rais anasema huyu si mbunge wa jimbo bali ni mbunge wa taifa, kwa hiyo nadhani tunapokwenda huko mwache nimchukue kwenye nafasi zangu 10. Maombi kama haya kuyaleta katika mkutano wa wananchi kwa rais ni kujitafutia maarufu. Mbunge hapa hakulifanyia haki jimbo.
Na alimshukia.
Mpina alivyotoa anga za Gwajima.
Rais Samia amshukia mbele ya wapiga kura. Literally coming down on him.
Yanayomsubiri bosi mpya wa Muhimbili. Anasema gharama kubwa za huduma za matibabu, miundombinu na teknolojia ni miongoni mwa mambo yaliyotajwa na wadau kuwa yanapaswa kufanywa marekebisho.
Muhimbili ni hospitali kuu, ni kama Kenyatta National Hospital.
Simanzi miili wanandoa waliouawa ilivyoagwa hapo jana na kule juu sababu mapato bima za vyombo vya moto kupaa. Sekta ya bima nchini Tanzania inaendelea kushuhudia ukuaji mwaka hadi mwaka. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 5. Na simulizi maisha mke familia ya Mdude siku 42 za kutekwa.
Swala abductions bado kule Tanzania yako. Still in Tanzania, we take a look at the Citizen, how 60 trillion Tanzanian shilling debt is squeezing East Africa. No, yes, trillion shilling, but I'm thinking, they're talking about East Africa, but from their point of view. They're talking about all 3 countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. A mounting debt burden across East Africa is increasingly weighing down public finances, with latest statistics showing that citizens in Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda will collectively shoulder the equivalent of tens of trillions of Tanzanian shillings in debt servicing costs during the 2025-26 financial year. Matters budget speaking, na ukweli tukuna deni. Madeni yako kama Kenya wanasema 31%. Kenya will allocate 1.37 trillion, the equivalent of 27 trillion Tanzanian money. Uganda will spend the equivalent of 18 trillion Tanzanian shillings. Now Tanzania will spend 14 trillion. I think that's the least, which is 25% of its budget, a quarter of its budget going there. In Uganda 36%, in Kenya 31%. So at least sisi tuko sawa. Uganda kuna shida pale. What awaits the new MNH director? MNH is Muhimbili National Hospital. They've gotten a new boss. A new Magufuli Bridge, a godsend to isolate residents. Tomorrow, commissioning of the JP Magufuli Bridge will mark a new era of connectivity between Kigongo and Busisi. MPs to government do this to collect 34 trillion shillings domestically. They're suggesting how revenue can be collected as they discuss their budget. Samia opens cotton factory, gives MPs a tongue lashing. Anawasomea kama watoto. Right, that's a Citizen. So yes, issues around debt and budgeting, big news across the region, but as far as Kenya is concerned, we're talking about something totally different. Maswala ya street protest, tumerudi hapo exactly 1 year. Pali tulikuwa tumerudi hapo. And the more things change, the more they remain the same. Tuangazie hali ya anga hapa nchini. Na tukianza kwenye bara la Afrika, mawingu yazidi kutanda maeneo ya South Sudan, Chad, Central African Republic kule. I think Central Africa is where we get a lot of This cloud cover, parts of DRC as well. And I can see something moving closer home. Above Lake Victoria, some cloud cover has returned in areas bordering Uganda and on the lake itself. But when you look at our map as Kenya, nothing much in as far as cloud cover is concerned, but haimaanishi hakuna clouds. Tuangazie kwanza Garissa tuone. Garissa, it's quite warm today, but mostly cloudy. 23 degrees as we speak. It will get as high as 33 degrees later on in the afternoon. Huko sioni kama kuna mvua yote, 0 millimeters in as far as precipitation. Down south at the coast,
23 degrees in Mombasa, feels like 26. Light rain expected. It's actually raining in Mombasa. Highs of 26 degrees.
which is pretty chilly for the coast.
Precipitation 2 millimeters.
So a bit of rain at the coast. In the Rift Valley, take a look at Eldoret, a bit chilly this morning, 13 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy for the better part of the day. Yes, they're definitely going to be getting some precipitation, highs of 21. Huko kuna baridi. 2.1 millimeters of rainfall in Eldoret, mutafute miavuli. Western part of the country.
Kakamega 14 degrees, mostly cloudy. Highs of 24 in Kakamega. Precipitation here 4.9 millimeters.
Okay, so that's the highest. So rain likely at 4 p.m. this afternoon. Finally, Nairobi, kumekuwa na kijibaridi. So promises to be a cloudy day, 14 degrees Celsius as we speak, highs of 23. So not so bad, a bit warmer than yesterday. I think yesterday we got 22. 0.4 millimeters of rainfall, not so much. Unaweza anika nguo lakini sijui kama itakauka. Kuna kijibaridi. Kunaweza kosa kuwa na mvua lakini kijibaridi. Cha asubuhi. All right, let's take a look at the traffic situation.
11 minutes, 12 minutes past the top of the hour. 11.
Right, and this is how the roads in Nairobi are looking like. Kuna wale wa upande ile ingine wale are working from home, you know, and it's such a privilege to be working from home. Yes, because those people who really have to go to the market probably have a lot. Unajua kuna areas zingine they're ordering stuff for delivery. Yeah, so unapata tu ni mapikipiki ya delivery. Muthaiga interchange, it's building up slowly, nothing to worry about there. It's just the usual. Thika Road, it's looking green all the way from Ruto all the way paka hapo Pangani. Outer Ring Road also looking good this morning. Pale Fedha, of course, kama kawaida, nothing out of the ordinary today. Makadara hapa kwa Jogoo Road ndio naona ni kama it's building a bit faster than usual. It's red at this time of day. It's usually yellow, then it gets red probably as we get closer to half past the hour. But Jogoo Road, yes, getting a bit busy today. Kangundo Road, yes, heading towards Outer Ring Road interchange, yes, around Umoja One Market. It's building up quite fast. On the opposite side, it's not so clear, but it looks a bit green this morning, heading towards Njiru. Let's go to the other side of town. Mombasa Road, nothing to worry about, nothing to report there. Southern Bypass is green. Langata Road, Raila Odinga Way, which used to be called Mbagathi Way. Unasema Raila Odinga Road usahau wapi. Ngong Road looking good, and Wayaki Way as well, heading into town, and nothing out of the ordinary, nothing to report there. So traffic quite normal for Wednesday morning. Yes.
All right, let's take a look at the quote of the day. Don't watch the clock. Do what it does. Keep going regardless of the obstacles, because progress is made one step at a time.
Kuna mtu anauliza, na huyo mrembo huwa anasoma quote of the day ni nani?
Ni nani?
Simjui.
Ni nani, by the way? Okay, we're going to do research.
The one and only Anodina. Watu sauti asubuhi tu. Quote of the day. Koma kabisa.
Let's come back and take a look at the local dailies.
Killer Police is a big headline on the front page of the Standard, and they show different scenarios, different snippets of how different cameras captured this moment when a police officer opened fire directly on an unarmed hawker. Jamaa tu ameinua mikono hata amebeba tu mask yake. Anyway, cold-blooded. He came to sell masks but left with a bullet through his head. This is Boniface Karaoke. Thought he'd cash in on protest day by hawking face masks, but a rogue police officer shattered that hope with a shot to the skull. He's now fighting a struggle that if he pulls through, life will never be the same again for him. As thugs looted shops and checked, and police looked the other way, Boniface lay bleeding on the pavement. His friend's cry still haunts the chaos. What will his mother, wife, and children be told? And you wonder, was it necessary? The same question we've been asking this entire week and even last week with the killing of Albert Ojwang. What was the necessity of such brutality? Now, I've seen this image of this police officer, whom they're saying he's a person who shot, but I've also seen other claims that it could be a different one, especially online. So it's still not clear.
It's very clear, Fred. There's a video that is, and I have it, very, very clear video showing his face. This kind of looks like AI somehow, but there's a clear video of this policeman. His name is Clinton. That's his name. And you know what Kenyans have done? Kenyans have actually found his TikTok account.
Is it the one? Or because I've seen the initial claim was someone different. Then eventually they landed on someone else. Yes? Yes. We'll be looking at that because it's debatable.
Yeah.
Because we would be very wrong if we accuse the wrong officer. I'm just saying. But if they actually get it,
I refuse to agree.
Now, this story is covered on pages 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's see what the inside pages are talking about today on the Standard. And sasa tumetoka kuongea kuhusu Albert Ojwang, sasa tunazungumzia mwingine.
Distraction kila siku.
It's just sad.
Something is happening.
What exactly is happening to our country? And yes, now it's called Killer Cops. Page 2 of the Standard talks about the Gen Z revolt of last year. 1 year later, traders struggle to rebuild after chaotic protests. Now, curiously, we're back on the streets, and the next page talking about killer cops and running battles. Wamama hapa kina mama wanakimbia town. It's very sad indeed that we're back here. It's the same story covered on page 4. Killer cops, state unleashes armed goons to beat protesters and rob businesses. Walikuja na vipini, unajua zile vipini jembe. Yeah. You can actually tell that this was planned. Whoever did that, I've seen a statement by police condemning that. Yet, police officers were working hand in hand with those people.
Shame.
Munatuambia nini? Signed by the same police spokesperson mwenye alisema Albert Ojwang alijipiga kwa ukuta. Oja maana nafikiri anafaa akuje tuketi na yeye atueleze anatuambia nini.
Tuko child's play.
Hawker shot as goons infiltrate protests in city. Yes, killer cops, page 6, and the same way we were saying that they'll be using the front page of the Standard as a poster, as a placard.
Yeah.
They're actually doing it, and that picture is there on page 6 of this paper. Armed gangs terrorize Nairobi, another headline. Officers sued for killing protesters to remain in cell. Now, this is a different story. 7 police officers implicated in the killing of a protester in Nakuru on June 9th will be detained for 7 more days. Now, you see the kind of stories we're looking at. Police killing protesters everywhere. Police killing, police killing, police killing. Meanwhile, the president, and this is a very nice question on page 8, is president in charge or is being held captive by government allies? What do you think?
Is he?
All right, those are just some of the headlines inside the Standard. On the back page, maswala ya sporti. Empty seats as Chelsea beat Los Angeles at FIFA Club World Cup. Maswala ya sporti. That's the Standard. Killer police.
You know the question that you've asked this newspaper is saying pundits claim the president has delegated too much power to his close allies.
Sasa wanataka kusema he's not in charge. Tusimblame sana.
I wanted to say something, but I'll tell you after the show.
No. You should say.
All right. Tuangalie Taifa Leo. Genge la teka jiji. Kundi la watu waliobeba rungu, mawe la kabili waandamanaji likionekana kushirikiana kwa karibu na polisi. Magenge hatari jana yaliteka jiji la Nairobi na kuwakabili waandamanaji waliokuwa wakishinikiza kujiuzulu kwa naibu inspector generali wa polisi Eliud Lagat kutokana na mauaji ya kinyama ya mwalimu na blogger Albert Ojwang. Mtu mmoja alipigwa risasi na polisi na kuachwa katika hali mahututi. He's still recovering pale Kenyatta National
He's actually lucky to be alive, to be honest, because that was close range.
Yeah. Familia ya Ojwang yataka ulinzi, inataka serikali iwape ulinzi na wa kutosha wanapofuatilia haki kwa mpendwa wao. Wasimulia mateso yao ndani ya seli waliowahi kuzuiliwa seli na za Central, wasema mateso waliopata ya kuketa maini. Na Israel sasa yalenga Ayatollah. Kiongozi wa kidini Iran Ayatollah Ali Khamenei sasa analengwa kuuawa na jeshi la Israel. On the top strip, vijana wazalisha pilipili boga na kutabasamu sokoni walipata wazo wanahabari walipofanya mahojiano na mkulima mmoja, ndipo wakaamua kusaka mtaji. Special feature on page 13 of this newspaper. And Chelsea waanza vyema, walianza finali za kombe la klabu bingwa duniani kwa ushindi.
Ni ya kukua na watu kwenye kwa stadium.
All right.
Anarchy, shooting on day of protest, same thing, and they have one of the most dramatic pictures there on the front page of this person, Boniface Karaoke, who was shot at close range by a police officer. Hii hata hawezi epuka. This one, by the way, it was captured properly on camera. Hakuna kitu tunatuambia. Wasituambia ati alijigonga kwa ukuta.
We saw. Evidence kwa karatasi iko.
They say mayhem. Demos hit Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kilifi as Ojwang's death probe focuses on DCI Amin and DIG Lagat. And the question is, it's happening exactly 1 year after what we saw last year. Yani itakuwa tunajirudia tu hivi kila mwaka.
Just 6 days too.
Yes. Push for Western leaders unity amid crowded field of presidential hopefuls. Siasa za ukule Western Kenya wanasema elusive Luya unity. Hiyo ndio inaitwa hivyo. Yeah. MPs revise finance bill to avoid Gen Z's wrath. And you realize that we're not even talking about our budget anymore, or even the finance bill, which is supposed to be the main discussion this week and next week as we get closer to the end of the financial year. Tunazungumzia. And you see now all papers have this black background. It's a theme. Hii ukiona hivi black background kwa magazeti yote, jua tuko vizuri. We are not doing well as a country. Yes. Anarchy, shooting on day of protests. That's the People Daily.
Daily Nation, same. Headline, Anarchy. Troubling partnership between police and gangs revealed in day of chaos. Goons unleash terror. Gangs armed with crude weapons wage war on peaceful protesters, attack and rob Kenyans as police officers watch. Shot by police bullet, face mask, vendor shot in the head at close range by uniformed officer in yet another case of police brutality. Business shut down. A day of missed sales for traders in Nairobi CBD who kept outlets shuttered for fear of vandals and looters. Ojwang protests spread. Kenyans in Kilifi, Kisumu and Mombasa demand resignation of Deputy Inspector General Lagat of a teacher's murder. Special coverage on pages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And for the longest time, this is the only story on the front page of the day.
We do not have space for the budget or anything else this time round. And the question is, now that you see this kind of chaos, and that's why they're calling it anarchy, it's like police have given up their space to goons to do what should actually be their job. So ameleta wahuni na viboko vipini na rungu wachape watu town. Alafu wale polisi wachache wamekuja wanapiga watu risasi. What exactly are you telling us?
Wengine tu wamesimama wana watch too. And I heard somebody, one of the goons saying, Sakaja, tunasafisha town, we're keeping the town in order. And then you wonder, really, where did the orders come from?
These are the things that come back to bite people later on. Whoever is paying these people, when mwerevu sana. Anarchy.
Tukiangalia ndani ya Daily Nation, page 2, troubling ties between police and goons. Vendor shot in CBD hangs on for dear life and is here. A very disturbing photo. Traders in Nairobi CBD closed businesses early, fearing looting. 4 arrested in Mombasa's police cattle demos. Hawakuweza kuprotest kule. Day of anarchy in Nairobi as protesters attacked by goons. Upper page 8 ndio kuna two story different. More University on the spot over entrenchment mode. Mount Kenya rebellion is scaring Ruto's loyalists about polls. How thousands of patients lost access to healthcare overnight.
Are we talking about the budget?
Nothing.
More on his story about the budget or the finance
Nothing.
bill this time around.
Hata Israel imepata coverage here. Israel-Iran war, Mombasa port users cling on hope. Nothing about the budget.
Right.
That's the Daily Nation. On the back page, NOK elections loom large again, and so too the disputes. Postponed polls will be held tomorrow, but some federations yet to resolve their issues. 14 million shillings paid dispute between Bandari coach moves to Labour Court. That's the Daily Nation.
All right. From the Daily Nation, let's take a look at business. But before you take a look at business, kuna the Star. And unfortunately, we don't have the e-copy. But on the front page of the Star, they talk about the same thing. Cops plunge Ruto into fresh crisis. And I think now this has captured the story properly. Because yes, at the end of the day, it will be the president to carry the burden, politically or otherwise. Whatever the police are doing, whatever the goons are doing in town, whatever the Gen Zs are complaining about, and whatever the cops have been doing for the past 2 weeks. Buck stops with who? The president. Masked policeman shoots mask seller in the head at close range. Hii tutablame nani? And now the Star wamepanga picha ya jamaa tu hata ameinua mkono na akapigwa risasi hapo. Very, very, very disturbing front page there. All right, another piece of news that's, I think, related to the budget, at least there on the front page of the Star, wanasema MPs say big no to having KRA access personal data. At least hapo some relief or reprieve for Kenyans.
Lakini Wakenya wajui kuna vitu kama hizi.
We're not talking about it. That's the issue. It's there also on the front page of the Business Daily. Away from what Israel and Iran are doing, they're saying KRA loses bid for open access to personal data, which should be a very big discussion point. But we're not talking about it. Yeah?
Israel-Iran war puts Kenya G2G fuel deal to the test. Kenya's fuel supply deal with 3 state-owned Gulf farms faces a critical test in the wake of the war between Israel and Iran, which threatens oil supplies, freight charges, and an increase in fuel prices. Now, Israel's decision to start attacking Iran's energy infrastructure with strikes and at least 2 gas processing plants and 2 fuel depots has poured more risk into the global energy markets. Now, 60% is the rise in key rates for supertanks voyaging from the Middle East to East Asia in less than a week. Middle East conflict spark oil supply and price fears. So hawa wakipigana, mjue pia sisi, we are affected in one way or the other, directly or indirectly. Protest mayhem, city residents ran for safety from an exploding tear gas canister along Kenyatta Avenue during protest yesterday, demanding justice over the death of Albert Ojwang in police custody on June 17, 2025. That photo is right here on the front page of the Business Daily. Mnafanya hadi watu wa biashara wanakuwa activists. On the ticker, just one story, job crisis as farms sustain layoffs on dwindling sales. And that's the Business Daily.
All right. Tukimalizia, tuangazie Karakacha. Just a reminder that we'll be having Sabina Chege, Dance Mongetana, Nabina Bwera, and Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo in studio for these discussions today. Have the police totally failed in their job, that now they've allowed goons to take over, and then they're just shooting aimlessly at people?
They have failed, though. Shame.
In fact, there should just be their police shame.
Yeah.
All right. Karakacha, tuangazie ya kwanza, this is the People Daily. And the cartoonist here, at least ameandika ni Lagat. Amesema I've stepped aside. Step aside lakini miguu bado iko kwenye kiti. Kwa sema mwenye alichora hii stano karibu nifikirie ni Jimmy Wanjigi. Uzuri akaandika hapo juu Lagat. Tunakuelewa. But step aside lakini incidentally they appointed someone to act as a deputy IG yesterday in acting capacity. But jamaa bado miguu amekelea juu ya kiti.
A chaotic town, this one. This is the Daily Nation.
The Daily Nation.
Goons police escort. Ndio hawa. This is police escort. Ako mbele anaendesha that kapiki.
In fact, police they are depending on the goons for escort.
Very chaotic town yesterday. This is what was, witnessed yesterday in Nairobi CBD.
We are descending into total anarchy. Yes. That's the Daily Nation. This is a Star. Harry is back. That's the cartoonist there, anaongea kuhusu nini? At least he's talking about what's happening in Kenya. So upande hii kuna justice for Ojwang, Mulika must go, Lagat resign, those are demos in peace. But hapa kuna politician, na politicians cartels, asema the killer cops can lay low for now. We got things covered with the goons. Yeah.
Anasafisha town.
So politicians wasema, polisi washachoma jina, wasikuje sana town. Tuko na jeshi ama genge. Tuko na genge. All right. So this is a cartoon in the Standard.
All right.
Hata nimechoka kuongea.
Being a Wednesday, it's Relationship Wednesday. We'll be talking about situationships. Are we dating or not?
What are we?
What are we?
Yeah.
Lakini sahi watu wame normalize sana situationships. Have we normalized this really? As you know, as people of this generation, kweli.
All right. So yes, the discussions today are very heavy.
Yes.
We're hoping to have all these people in studio in a short while. So do stand by and share your views with us as well through our social media pages on X.
TV47 News KE on X, TV47 News Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. 22047 is the SMS line. Pale X, my handle is at @an_leader. The hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My handle on X is @FredIndimuli. See you after the break.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side. We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
A video that was recorded during the protests. A man who has been identified to be a hawker is seen standing here unarmed. Two police officers and then seen cornering him while he was selling face masks along Nairobi's Moi Avenue streets. From the video, the man did not even have a chance to explain anything, but was met by blows before he was shot at a point-blank range. One of the two police officers is seen cocking his gun and shooting the man and fleeing the scene. After the shooting, the police officers walk away, leaving him for the death. It then took the intervention of Good Samaritans to carry the man as they tried to save his life. On X, LSK President Faith Othiambo has described the act as unacceptable. The video has elicited public outcry as police officers were accused of brutality. Protesters took to the streets to demand justice over the murder of influencer Albert Ojwang in the hands of police officers at the Central Police Station. Following this incident, the Inspector General National Police Service ordered for the immediate arrest and arraignment in court of the involved officer. The said police officer has since been arrested. Furthermore, NPS has noted a group of goons armed with crude weapons in today's protests within the CBD. The service takes great exception and does not condone such unlawful groupings. Such individuals will be handled firmly according to the law. Consequently, investigations have commenced to identify and deal with the criminals accordingly. The victim was taken to hospital and he is receiving medical attention.
Shortly after human rights organizations condemned the killings of Albert Ojwang and raised concerns over escalating police brutality, protesters flooded the streets of Nairobi to voice their outrage. Business operations came to a halt with major streets among them Moi Avenue, Tomboya Street, Haile Selassie Avenue and Kenyatta Avenue turning into battlegrounds between protesters and security forces. Tensions escalated when suspected goons were seen dispersing protesters. In retaliation, demonstrators confronted the group directly. In this video, police vehicles are seen moving around the city with this group. 2 motorbikes were set ablaze by unknown people during the protests. In many instances, police were forced to lob tear gas to disperse protesters demanding justice for Ojwang. The shooting of a hawker by these 2 police officers has sparked public outrage, with many asking why did police officers open fire on someone who had reportedly identified himself as a mask vendor. Protesters rushed to help as they were seen trying to resuscitate him before rushing him to hospital. One officer, described as wearing a green cape, brown boots and carrying a green firearm, was later captured on TV 47 footage, standing among fellow officers. His face is clearly visible even after the shooting that left the young vendor critically injured. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, is yet to respond to the footage. However, the National Police Service, NPS, in a statement Tuesday evening, said the police officer who shot an unarmed civilian with an anti-riot shotgun was arrested. The protesters have been pushing for the resignation of Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat after he was implicated in Ojwang's death. Lagat stepped aside on Monday pending the outcome of investigations. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
Yes, Killer Police is a big headline on the front page of the Standard. The Daily Nation has chosen to go with a one-word headline, simply saying anarchy. Anarchy is also a word used in the headline on the People Daily. And the Star goes with a different angle, which I think is also very valid. Cops plunge Ruto into fresh crisis. This morning, we're privileged to have in studio MP Nabina Bwera of Lugari. Good morning, karibu sana.
Morning, Indumuri.
It is a sad state of affairs, and this is where we start. Complete anarchy. And it would appear that we are moving from one crisis to another. All of these involving the police. Where are we getting it wrong?
Indumuri, I want to say the following, that I was struggling this morning whether really to come for this show. Because I thought I needed to reflect more as a leader elected by people and a citizen. But I also thought that this show gives me an opportunity to put certain things in perspective and probably persuade citizens, my colleagues, and the powers that be to rethink our security strategy, to reflect on our nationhood and the values that bind us as a country together. First, I want to send my condolences to the family of those we have lost through these problems, and also send my goodwill message to the young man who was shot while taking cover. He was actually taking cover from the videos I've looked at, and many others who were hurt yesterday through goons who invaded the streets. And it appears to me, from the videos I've seen, the images I've seen, it appears to me they were being escorted by police, because as they moved with bludgeons and batons and all that, I see 3 police vehicles moving in the same direction but doing nothing, full of police officers, but doing nothing. Now, the questions that have disturbed me were police admitting that they could not on their own subdue or manage the demonstration, so they needed civilians hired to assist them. The second question that has disturbed me, could these also be police officers pretending to be in a civilian? Because how would the police walk in the same direction with people carrying bludgeons, batons, crude weapons, and you don't stop them, and that is why, my brother, I'm requesting for a moment of reflection, that we may need to reflect as a nation, as a people, on the values that bind us together. What is it that has gone wrong?
At the National Assembly Tuesday afternoon,
What?
the leader of the members of parliament.
What is it that has gone wrong? One, you can see that there is complete lack of command from the police. Because if the IG is arguing that there were no instructions to shoot, so who else gave instructions to shoot? So there's no lack of command. Or if there is command, then police has been infiltrated by people who do not listen to the IG or who do not recognize the established protocol in the police force. Now, what does this portend? Into Mudi, if this is not checked, we are looking at anarchy. We are looking at chaos. We are looking at the public losing confidence in tools of security. And that is what upsets me. The same yesterday, in my constituency, I was here, and a young man called me at a market called Mhonje, that there is a policeman harassing wananchi. There were several police, there was something which had happened there, and one policeman attempted to harass wananchi. So wananchi almost lynched him. And that upset me. So I had to call in the chief, call the people around there and say, make sure that doesn't happen. Because if the public loses confidence in the tools of security, my brother, you and I, and any other Kenyan is not safe.
But don't you think that probably we left a bigger problem unattended? And I'm talking about whatever happened last year, that there was an obvious crisis, a total breach of security, including parliamentary security, yet we seem to have moved on without any proper probe, and that is now what the results we are seeing right now. Don't you think that, yes, that should have been attended to properly?
In fact, you've put it aptly well. If you don't treat a wound, it becomes septic. If it becomes septic, it will obviously cause death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that is what we are seeing.
We are reaping the fruits of not bringing the issues of 25th June to closure.
Mm-hmm. Curiously, it's happening about exactly 1 week to the anniversary of June 25th.
Last week when I was here, I told you that one of the things that is upsetting me about the issue that happened at Central Police Station is that the insensitivity of the political environment, the insensitivity by police about the social environment. And I said, I could be having people within the system who may not know that they are undermining the same government they are supposed to be protecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was very categorical. I remember even saying, conscience, if I remember telling you that if Lagat had conscience, he does not require the president to prompt him on anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes common good becomes, all the time, common good should be supersede personal good.
There seems to be that suggestion, Nabora, because on page 8 of the Standard, there's a very interesting headline, and it's a question they're asking. Is president in charge, or he's being held captive by government allies? That things are happening that probably he may not wish for them to happen, but he appears helpless, that things are just happening out of control. Do you agree that things could be getting out of control for him?
There are 3 things I want to say about this. I've raised it before, respectively. The president has a right to appoint anyone, according to the Constitution. But then, appointing too many politicians can be chaotic. Mm-hmm. And this is what we could be suffering from.
Right.
Every political animal comes with baggage, including myself. I have my own baggage as a politician. That's a fact. And every political animal has interests. So sometimes those interests may be counter or contra to national interest. It is a moment of reflection. As you are aware, I hosted the president on Sunday in my constituency. He came there for a service. And we had a chat. I think from where I sit, I don't want to say he has lost control, but there's work to be done.
Right.
There's work to be done.
Allow me to welcome Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo, who is also a political commentator, into this conversation. Good morning, Wakili. I'm not so sure it's a good morning, but we're here nonetheless. Looking at the headlines today, we're just talking about anarchy. And the events of yesterday were unexpected. Yes, it appears we are moving from one crisis to another. The protests were about outrage over the killing of Albert Ojwang in police custody. Then, as that happens, we see police accompanied by goons, and an officer goes ahead and shoots an armed person. Can they escape these accusations, really?
Yeah, Fred, thank you for welcoming me. I heard you ask Honorable Nabora a question about whether president is in control when all these things are happening. And to be honest, he is not, in terms of putting his people together, the leadership team around him, and, you know, telling them, reading to them a riot act and telling them this can happen and this cannot happen. To that extent, he's not in control. And I think that there are people in the streets of Nairobi and in the country who are actually giving command to other people, as we saw yesterday. You can call them criminals, but these are young people picked from Mathare, Kawangware, and people are hungry, Kibra, and now it was confessed by Mukwana, the police officer at Central, that they are giving 2,000 shillings to these young people. And in that respect, the president is not in control, and he should actually quickly come back to, his, promises and step his foot down and save the country from this kind of anarchy. Now, yes, it's not a good morning, Fred, when you realize that young people have gone to the street to complain about why a fellow young person was killed. And the same police again unleashed terror. I mean, the worst, or at least the worst the police would have done is to come up with a PR, a person who can talk to Kenyans. And I don't think, I'm sorry to mention, I have nothing against the gentleman called Nyaga. I think he's always writing.
The police spokesperson.
Is the spokesperson. I don't think
he knows what
the way he has managed this crisis is not the right person.
No, he's not competent.
And they think the Director General of Police, the Inspector General of Police should come quickly and save the face of the police. This is something that needed a PR, by the way. They should have allowed the young people yesterday to do whatever they wanted to do, but guard them and make sure that
it's peaceful.
Yes, there is no, normally, Fred, there is no looting of property. People respect and fear police. So if police come up and say, we hear you, a person was killed in our hands, and you want to demonstrate. Now we are going to advise you what will be done. Occupy Kenyatta Avenue and Uhuru Highway between now and afternoon, and at 12 o'clock. In the afternoon, we will not want you to, because other people will also utilize this space. So go to the other side. It would have been very peaceful. But you see the problem with the police then now, as it appears, they are drunken with power. And the way they are using that power is unacceptable. But more than that, Fred, the real problem is that police are coming together closely with criminals or with people who at least need reforms more than, if I don't want to call them criminals, people who need reforms, who need to be somewhere else. And this is something that has been confessed by the police themselves, that they can hire goons and they can hire people to come and unleash terror. So this is where the problem is. Anytime you associate yourself with a philosophy you do not have, you in a way become that philosophy. And this is very wrong for the police of Kenya to do this in the streets today.
You notice that most of our dailies today are, the words on the front pages are against black backdrops. This is the front page of the People Daily, white headline on a black backdrop. The front page of the Standard has same, killer police against a black backdrop. The Standard is usually white on the front page. Same thing to the Daily Nation. That communicates something. Now that we're talking about the president, and the story that we've just been quoting appears to suggest that his allies have taken over command of so many different things, probably without even his knowledge. And they're the ones running these things to the detriment of him politically. Don't you think that that could in itself be the actual fact?
In Dumuli, there are many things that happen around a nation state like ours in the political management. And I started by telling you one of the undoing of His Excellency the President could be that he brought back too many political animals around himself with varied interests. Some which may be not in consonant with his political philosophy. And therefore, they will even, the things they are doing which he is not aware, will undermine his authority and will undermine his leadership. I also want to believe the president has spent a lot of time on issues economics. Maybe he needs to retreat and look at the issues political. 3 weeks ago when I was here, I said what we are going through requires a retreat in a situation room where you look at the boxes and say, we set out as a nation. The Constitution requires that as the head of state, I ensure the security of people, security of people's property. I ensure there is coexistence. there is peace, there is economic stability, children are going to school and all this. Where are we at this? Here, we are not fixing it well. Nabi is the one whom I gave responsibility to fix, is unable to fix. Nabi, you can see what we are doing here, you are unable to fix. Can we get somebody else to fix? Because the country is bigger than all of us. Why did I say that? Because going to 3 years, the president knows now who can do what and who is not able to do what. Of course, when you see this on the front page, it's not a good sign. That police are watching civilians take charge to control crowd with batons, and it speaks a different story. What is the story? The CS for Interior is not in control. The IG is not in control.
Clearly not in control.
And therefore the pressure will mount to who? To the head of state. So he has to crack the whip.
Fred, put in another way.
He has to crack the whip.
Thank you, Honorable Nabuera. But put in another way, I think that our country has been infiltrated, not by foreigners, by our own people, who should not be in certain institutions, but they are actually sitting in those institutions.
But the president has allowed them to do that.
That's right, and that's what I'm saying. Right from how he started the, bottom-up economy, promising the hustler nation and saying we will deal with Mama Mboga and everything, that's good. Really, the intentions could be good. But you're going to tell Mama Mboga to come into the office and start managing an economic policy that she is passionate about but doesn't understand the intricate details that will actually go along in implementing the blueprint. So this is where the problem is. The leadership philosophy of the president, first and foremost, is that he can help friends. It doesn't matter how you look at it. If he's his friend, he's his friend. And it's a stark contrast when you look at Kibaki and Moi, for example, where when Moi used to say, you might be my friend, but leadership is a different story. So this is where the problem is. I mean, I think very many people, including perhaps, we can use the word criminals sparingly, because it's not everybody, have actually infiltrated the government and are trying to run people. And when a thief goes to office, for example, he simply ensures that everything goes to him. Nobody else comes across the national cake or resources. And I think this is where the problem is. So when you see people carrying batons and calling on a governor of Nairobi, for example, calling his name, I mean, that is not conclusive evidence of anything, but why are they using your name? These are not the kind of people who can implement a policy. These are people who have been given a few shillings to come in the street and start shouting your name and soil your name first and foremost. But if it is true that you have any knowledge about these kind of people, then who is in office? So really, who are we? Who is guarding us, Fred? Is it the leaders we have elected, and those appointed and nominated to do something by the executive and other arms of government, or it is their henchmen, their other, I don't want to say minions, but there are other people, who they are using to terrorize the citizens?
Just before you came in, I'd asked Bwana Nabuera this question about how we handled the issues that happened last year. In next 1 week, we'll be marking 1 year since the events of June 25th, that probably we left so many things unattended. Obvious criminality, a breakdown of the rule of law without any proper probe or conclusive issue. And that is what we are seeing now, that it can keep erupting over and over until the day we get close to what happened last year. Do you think that is what we could be suffering from as a
Yeah, but you see also, Murkomen, the Minister for Internal Security, came up and said the similar things. And I remember the former President Uhuru Kenyatta put it very clear, and Raila has been talking about it, that if we do not deal with the issue of youth ballooning and becoming many without employment, then we are actually causing a bigger problem. So, yes, it also started from independence. I mean, there was corruption and there was killing of people. I mean, you are talking about Tom Mboya and Kimathi and Kariuki, all these people in the past. Killings have always been there. The problem is today they are opening in broad daylight. So it is, I think, a problem that has actually
But in those cases that
spilled
you
over.
mentioned, even the killing of Robert Ouko, eventually there was a probe. I think the one led by Justice Gisheru.
Yes, sure.
That probably led the country to some sort of closure or to some sort of conclusion that this issue tumefikisha mahali hapa. But the events of last year, we do not have,
and you see,
appear to be.
And you see, Fred, the reason why there was such commissions being appointed is because probably the head of state then was desirous. He knew probably that the people around me are doing such a thing, but he was desirous of ending that. He did not pay attention to friendship. He did not pay attention to you come from my region or something like that. He was clear that in order to run a country, we must go this way. And we are lacking that, to be honest. I mean, if anybody is advising the president clearly, apart from coming and speaking a few words and saying, I am not going to listen to this or that, hawa wanatuambia hivi, I'm not going to hand over power. This talk can be limited to some boardroom discussions. But when you come out to the people, you want to give everybody hope that I wanted to take this nation forward. When Uhuru Kenyatta last year, I mean in 2022, when he said, if I am defeated, I will hand over power. That is a hope you are giving to people that we are in political fights, I mean, competition. If I win, I will be given my position. When you give people this kind of talk that I will not hand over power, you are literally discouraging the nation. That is not the spirit of Kenya. We have been in this country for so long, Fred, and people have not gone to, the South Sudan way, the Uganda way, where governments have to be taken by force. People respect, in fact, many Kenyans respect peace. Our military respects peace. That is why, despite all this, you see the anarchy in the street, we still come back in the evening and pray and say, we want our country. But when you take the country towards these extremes, where you allow people who have not just questionable characters, but people who don't understand actually. Somebody doesn't understand about a docket, and you give him the docket, and he keeps telling us things which are miraculously awkward. I mean, he says something, he thinks it's really making sense. It is not making sense. So this is where the problem is, and I think that the way, like you said, the way to resolve these long-standing disputes, first of all, inclusivity is very important. I mean, inclusivity is not saying, Raila, let's join hands together. From last year, like you said, inclusivity was to attend to the Gen Z, attend to the youth, attend the issue of how do you cushion youth from this unnecessary tax. Yes, put tax all over. I mean, services have to be supported by paying tax. How do a person has finished Form 4, gone to university, has never worked, and you're putting heavy taxes on it? So try to cushion the youth. And then now, after maybe a sabbatical of 2-3 years, then let them start paying. I mean, the same way you probably do with help, where you give them a loan, but you allow them 6 months, 1 year, after they've started working, they then start paying the loan. So the problem must be attended. It was supposed to be attended. But the present one is how police are killing people. They should have come yesterday, address masses, and allow them to picket.
Okay. Well, Nabi, the headline that we just read, the question asking, is the president in charge or is being held captive by government allies, could be, in a way, excusing the president from blame. The buck stops with the president. And if you look at the headline on the front page of the Star, they talk about cops, the police, plunging the president, Ruto, into a fresh crisis. This headline acknowledges that the buck stops with the president. The other one appears to see him as probably someone who's not in control. Could we be excusing the president from his role?
Let me tell you, the issue of peace is collegiate. The issue of peace, you and I, all institutions, the judiciary, the legislature, must play ball to ensure that we have a peaceful state. But then, the country is under one leadership. This is a unitary state. The president is both the head of government and the head of state. In that situation, therefore, is the final say. But then, in a democracy like ours, where you have to involve the public and the institution in governance of the state, that's why I'm saying we all have a responsibility. Now, why the president would take the flag is because he's the appointing authority of many of the people in institutions that are supposed to guarantee peace, including the police. What would we then need to do? Nyaribo has given a very simple thing. Don't fix what works. Just go and pour a leaf. What did Kibaki do? Do you know, I keep on reminding people, we had a serious insecurity by Mungiki. Do you remember, Nyaribo? Mm-hmm. They were beheading people. You could not walk in a bus stage. They are taken over Uruma in Eldoret. They are taken over all the bus stages in Nairobi. Mm-hmm. Did Kibaki handle that using civilians, goons? No. He just sat down with Michuki and they designed a method, and Michuki methodically dealt with it. And part of the problem in the police for a while is because he took so many of those boys and took them to NYS. They ended up in police. Some of those who have been committing suicide. There are some of those who have been trigger-free. But he solved the problem using formal state machinery. What upsets me in Dumuli is what I'm seeing here. This is anarchy. The state has enough machinery. I mean, Nyaribo has said something here which I want to speak to you about. That Kenyan people fear police. True. I had the president in my constituency. 10,000 people turned up. But there was no chaos because police were there. People just see police and they queue. People just see police and they sit. So what does that mean? Generally, our public is peaceful. And when you see young men coming up with batons like this, somebody has organized them. Fact. And that is what we don't want to see. And that is where, if I was Kanja, I would tell whoever it is, I'll walk to my minister's office that we can't allow this. I'm in charge as the police. Allow me to run security in Nairobi. Don't bring me people I don't know. And you put your foot down and say, look, if I see them, I will arrest them or I'll shoot them.
Do you think he's in charge, really?
Who?
Douglas Kanja.
In fact, for me, the question should be, that's the guy. The guy is totally not in charge.
Yes, exactly.
The problem in this country today is the Inspector General of Police. Look. This guy, one thing that upset me about him, I'll tell you. People have picked somebody, you know the standing orders. You are in charge. The standing orders should be that if there was a problem, the police in Homa Bay should have arrested this guy. So some people from Nairobi are going to collect. Those people, he should have arrested them in the first place and interdicted them. Those DCI officers who went for this guy. because they went against the police protocol. And then there is a problem, then you agree Nyaga, is called who? Nyaga?
The spokesperson.
The spokesman. You agree the guy to come and mislead you. I mean, Kanja can take a call and ask Talam, can you come to my office? And I'm not listening to any, come with an explanation what happened to Ojwang. And you don't need even to call Nyaga to release a statement. You call the press yourself and say, look, I'm taking responsibility as the Inspector General, my officers have erred.
All right. All right. Anarchy, that's the main word. One word headline on the front page of the Daily Nation, aptly captured. The images we're seeing on the front pages today, very disturbing. Let's take a short break. We'll be back to continue with this discussion.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for New Friends.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe. On this Wednesday morning, we're looking at very disturbing front pages of our dailies. Anarchy is a discussion we're having. I'd also like to acknowledge the hundreds of people, many people watching us via YouTube on TV47 Kenya. Thank you so much for keeping it TV47. I'm still in studio with Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo and Nabina Bwera, who's the MP Lugari. Ideally, this week we should be talking about the budget. That's a debate in Parliament. This was a level of discussion last year.
And we are doing a very good thing this
But
year.
Kenyans are not talking about the budget. Look at the pages today. We were struggling to find any discussion about the budget or the finance bill on these papers. We're just talking about anarchy, street protests, about police killing other people. And are we as a nation totally forgotten what is important to us?
Yes, we also are working on emotions as based on psych. Even these things, I think Nyaribo, in his opening remarks, made a very critical thing. That we need to be talking about the economy so that we take these young men from the street. You want to define a solution of this the wrong way. So actually, I will also be calling on the national discourse should be on the economics of the country. How do we fix the economy so that each one of us has something to bite? That's all.
Yeah, and I said give them tax amnesty. Allow young people to start paying tax, ukombele, 28 years, maybe even 30, when they have cleared. Fred, that is very important, by the way.
How come we're not having that discussion this time around? What happened to us?
Oh yeah, because there's anarchy. I mean, you have said it clearly, there's anarchy. And Fred, where we've come from, if you look at Kenyatta days and Uhuru days, and there were problems, by the way, these northern rift areas, there's still some problems there. Criminals coming up. There was a problem in Mount Elgon, if you remember. There was sungusungus in Kisii. And we had all manner of Msumbiji in Western. We had all manner of criminal groups. Then Mungiki was there. Now, instead of the government fighting that menace, it's actually reviving criminals and sending them to Central Police Station, not because they want them to be incarcerated in cells, but they just want to put them there so that they can be used as a, facilitators of some other crime against, people who oppose government. This is a very bad law. I don't think any right-minded Kenyan wanted us to be here, where we are dealing with how we can partner with the crooks and criminals. There was a gentleman in the street, I think he was in a suit, if you've seen that clip. He was felt down and they were taking everything from him. Was he even picketing? He was just walking
on his way. He was going to do his business.
That's the point. So how we can come out of this, in my view, first and foremost, as far as the youth are concerned, can you imagine a young man who comes all the way from Western, because, or Nyanza for that matter, or Coast, with a Form 4 certificate, is coming to look for a job? He cannot live in the Runda, Kilimani and all that. He goes to live in, Mabanda areas, and then he doesn't have money. He needs to eat. And he gets some small job, and from this small job, he gets about 300 shillings a day, and you still want to tax the 300. This is my issue, that youth need to be given sabbaticals in terms of the tax, so that KRA should actually find a way of saying the youth will start earning at a certain point. Of course, if you are a youth, 21 years, and you go to work in a bank and you're earning enough salary, you will of course be deducted. I mean, you will pay your tax according to the rates at the bank. But I think that even then, I think such a youth, even if he works in a high profile work, yes, he should be given sabbatical so that the youth can feel like the country cares about them and that our country really needs us. This question of lumping up everybody as though we are earning the same salary that is earned in executive and in National Assembly and all that is discouraging citizens and is making them very desperate. That's what I meant when I said an economic model should be found which is cushioning the young people who have absolutely, we should have a way of onboarding them into the job market.
Who is leading this conversation? Because, and I'll keep going back to the president, because he's our leader.
In Dumuli, I think we are also not being fair here. What Nyaribo is saying is that all of us need to have a discourse on what is called economic viability of a state. You know, John Mbadi has been speaking about two things. One is that can we cut our coat to our size? But then you're saying that we have obligations. And these obligations have accumulated over time. I sit in the Public Accounts Committee. The question we have been asking ourselves, and this is what I would like this country to discuss. We took this date brought to the country. What did it do? What did it do? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that if Nyaribo was given the money to build a dam and he didn't build a dam, we hold Nyaribo responsible. Because that is where the problem in this country is. Because we have to fund education. And my brother, even with 702 billion, we still have almost over 100 billion shortage. We didn't have enough money for education. We didn't have enough for TSC. We didn't have enough money for capitation. We didn't have enough money for SNE, special schools.
Yeah, the school feeding program.
Yes, but how much can you borrow? That is number one. Number two, you saw the gaps in health. And one of the things I've entirely agreed with President Ruto, with even my own background, is him insisting on universal health care. I can tell you, in the streets out home there, people had cancer, people were diabetic, you know, they were suffering. People were selling land. But then, if you want to fund that, how do you generate money? At least for road, he has found a solution. And he has fixed the securitization is the way to go. Securitization of the fuel levy is the way to go. Mm-hmm. So that it's long-term. PPP is the way to go to fund long-term infrastructure progress. But how do you fund education? How do you fund healthcare? And that is why Nyaribo's discussion becomes critical. What is the viable tax model for this country? You know? These are symptoms.
Mheshimiwa, I don't want to cut you short at all.
These are symptoms.
Mheshimiwa, you're in parliament, and I think this is very important. What then, you know, the problem is not how you fund it even. Now they're talking about, is it 700 billion to be given to education?
Yes, it's 702.
How is that money going to reach the primary school classroom? Down in the mashinani. This is where the problem is, Honorable MP, and you need actually, when you go to Parliament, this is important.
These are the discussions happening between this week and next week.
Yes.
On the appropriations
and they are not
bill
highlighted.
and the finance bill.
Exactly.
But it would appear that even Parliament is a bit scared to have this discussion out there.
No,
they would rather do it.
What I'm saying, Freddie, is
it is you setting this agenda.
Yeah, media should.
Taking an agenda outside the most important agenda.
There's one headline I've seen, I think, on the front page of the People
Look at
Daily.
all the papers. None of them is talking about what we are doing. Yesterday we started this. We were discussing.
On the People Daily,
I think it's the climate in the street that is making them.
On the front page of the People Daily, there's a headline that suggests that MPs are doing something in response to, in as far as the finance bill is concerned, not to generate the Gen Z wrath. That's how they're approaching the finance bill. Some of the actions they're taking. Don't you agree that, yes, you and your colleagues right now are a bit too scared of having this discussion openly on the appropriations bill and on the finance bill?
The finance bill is in public domain. The Committee of Finance has been going around the country to talk about it. Mbadi himself, for the first time, has taken debate, including having a public discussion at Jacaranda, here, Mombasa. just to get the young people to appreciate what is. And that's why I'm bitter about this. I'll tell you why. This week and next week, what should have been critical, even from the media point of view, was to do an analysis of what we are saying and the proposals being given. Let's not be reactive. Let us participate. You see, like there is something we did. There were commodities which were being zero rated. And we said, no, you are creating a problem for the country. You are creating a problem for the country. There are others which were being, they were putting VAT on them. We said, no, you are creating a problem for the country. Can we look at alternative ways of raising money?
Fred, now it's an egg chicken story here. What you should report, what we should discuss. What media should report and what we should discuss, and which one should be reported and which one should not. I mean, if the country is safe and there are no deaths and there are no police shootings, the media will, I think, say there was peaceful protest, and they will cover a small part of the front pages and then go straight into the major issues. But during the budget reading, the day itself, there was again these protests. And the media are actually not supposed to, the media, yes, is powerful and can influence, but the media is not supposed to create stories from their imaginations. The media goes to the street and looks at the political climate, looks at the economic climate, looks at the social climate and reports.
Is it a degeneration of our society? Last year, fine, there were unfortunate events around the same discussion, but at least the whole country was united in discussing the finance bill and saying what was wrong with it. This time round, everyone is reluctant to talk about it.
One thing, I think we now know that what executive wants to be done will be done.
So you've given up on that discussion?
I think many people have sort of left it to them. And I was talking about systems in terms of such an issue, in terms of, we are talking about economic models. If experts give us an economic model, do we have systems, do we like systems to help us implement it? Or we do like, when you see police traffic stand next to the roundabouts and there are lights, and police ignore the lights, but they want to control the traffic in their way. That is the problem in Kenya, by the way. Do we have systems and respect it? When you go to the West and the more developed economies, Mheshimiwa, you will see that even a student, there is a fees portal. You pay the fees, you get to class. You didn't pay, systems are disconnected, and that's it. So you start now dealing with other issues like, hey, Dad, send me money, I need to do ABC. Our systems in this country are sabotaged, as I said, by the very people who should implement them. You talk about criminals in the street. The IG is not even supposed to order anything. The county commander for Nairobi is supposed to have all these people rounded up and charged in court. And then we are supposed to come out with the evidence. Who did this? Who did what? Then that is supposed to be sent to the minister in charge of security. Then they are supposed to create a policy and sit down in the National Council, Security Council. And they are supposed to agree that we can't allow this kind of menace. People in our country don't respect systems. In fact, even after that 700 billion, for example, in education is released, what is the system? Why do we have county governments crying every day in and day out? And there is already, a portion allocated to every county. Why? Because instead of following the systems, now release the money, now send it to so and so, leaders come up with excuses and intercept the systems and start giving some stories, some, explanations. And in the end, we have Kenyans suffering. This is what I'm saying. Systems should be put in place to allow youths some sabbatical in terms of tax. And that is not the only, relief they can get. I'm talking about in terms of when we see the current problems, youth are crying, they're hungry, they don't have
There are some positive discussions even in this, but it's not getting to the youth. For example, and allow me here, the lawmakers have proposed deleting several controversial clauses from the finance bill to prevent a backlash similar to what happened last year. Kenyans are not even aware of this. They talk about a rejection of KRA and National Treasury accessing personal data.
Yes.
Now, these are the discussions that people should be having. Even the youth need to know this.
Exactly.
But MPs appear to be a bit too scared of this.
By the way, why are we as members of parliament against that? First of all, it is going against our own constitution because it breaches the level of privacy. It breaches privacy. Now, if you were to look at his argument, does Kenya have adequate systems to run an economy, a robust economy?
It has.
The answer is yes.
Yes, it has.
You know, my brother.
Is it respected? That is the issue.
Yes, we cannot regulate bad behavior.
Oh, I think we should.
No, just listen.
We have a provision in the
laws regulate bad behavior. Yeah. The problem is, can the leaders act in good faith? That is all. Kenya, if you went to Singapore, most of the laws they used to run the economy, they borrowed here. All the countries in Africa come to state our treasury model. Our Public Finance Management Act is one of the most robust. But what is the problem? Bad behavior. And he has used the right word. People get into position and sabotage their own system that they are supposed to be running. How do you call this? This is the police are sabotaging themselves. Because instead of removing goons on the street, they are escorting goons in the name of they are going to deal with protesters. When you surrender your power to a third party, whom do you blame? So the debate should be, how do we get people in a position who will act in good faith?
Right. As we get to the end of this discussion, I want us to talk about some politics and focusing on the president, of course. He made some very curious statement at the weekend, but yesterday he was also talking about him being a man on a mission. We have that story here at TV47. The president saying he's on a mission. Which mission is this? All right, if we don't have that story right now, we can just proceed with the discussion. You have it? Okay, go ahead.
Speaking in Naivasha during the second inaugural seminar on the Urban Forum, President William Ruto has reiterated the government commitment to upgrade urban settlements, defining his 2 years record on the project.
We have no choice about that future being urban, but we have a choice on what type of urban future we are going to have. Are people going to live in informal settlements? Are they going to live in slums? Or they are going to live in planned, dignified shelter that has dignity?
Adding no amount of criticism by detractors will derail the implementation of affordable housing program. The president said he won't be defined by election terms or by how long he serves in office. His focus, he pointed out, is on the implementation of his development agenda projects that directly impact on the lives of Kenyans. This as he spoke during the second Urban Forum in Naivasha, Nakuru County on Tuesday. He pledged to continue uplifting the lives of Kenyans, especially those at the bottom of the economic pyramid and informal settlements.
I will not allow anybody to define me in terms of time and terms and elections. No. This project is not about how many terms you serve or how many, which elections come this way or that way. I want leadership in Kenya to be defined by how much impact we are making.
The 2019 census indicated a 32% urbanization level with a 15 million population projection as the country records 1,200 urban centers. The rapid urbanization mounting pressure on modern living.
A moment to pause and ask, what kind of cities are we building? And what kind of country will they give rise to.
Lands and Housing CES Ali Swahome stated housing units are being delivered with all amenities amid opposition from the Central Organization of Trade Unions COTU, which has faulted the inclusion of markets in residential blocks.
I have a simple answer. The answers, the statistics answer them. Kenya is urbanizing the highest rate.
President William Ruto added that urbanization requires urgent planning to avert crisis in housing and infrastructure as conversation pits urban planning ideas against labor and social concerns.
We will have 30, 40 million people living in urban centers. If we don't plan about it, we will be living in squalor.
As a sovereign.
For TV 47 from Naivasha, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
Yes, the forum there was to discuss urbanization, but it's the statements by the president I'm more concerned about. In recent weeks, he has been talking even about cousins, something that did not come from him. And he keeps on insisting that he will not be distracted. He's a man on a mission. But don't you see it as if he's already distracted?
Yeah, and Fred, the president has talked about what he wants and has talked about his plans on urbanization. That's one aspect. The president has also talked about not ready to be defined by timelines. He has said that also. So why is it, what the people, why is he not talking about what Kenyans want? Why is he not putting it like what Kenyans want is urbanization? Why is he talking about what he wants? Now, that's something for the people around the president to discuss. Then, you know, there is, I did my Bible reading very well when I was a young man. There is a book that says that teach us to remember the days of our lives. It is only God who cannot define by timelines, by the way. As a human being, you must be defined by 70 years of living when you are active.
He seems
After
to
that,
realize that. He appears a bit uncomfortable about it. It's like he's responding to someone. At the weekend, when he was hosted by MP Nabina Bwera here, he talked about not giving power.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's where the problem is, Fred. So the president must realize that Kenya Kwanza has been given 5 years by Kenyans, only 5 years, to implement the philosophy. And I think he says about statistics, about the housing. I cannot comment on that. Really, I don't want to say it is bad to urbanize a country. I think we need it. In all honesty, we need it. But how are you moving with your countrymen? How are you moving with the people? You know, sometimes people are slow. Some people actually will resist. Some people will criticize you. And it is not only in Kenya, Fred, where we are seeing this, you know, riots. There are many riots in the United States today, I mean, against Trump. But he is going on. The problem, I think, for me is the personalization of government issues. People may criticize you, but you are doing a right thing of urbanizing. Just get a good way of implementing it, because people do not say housing is bad. People are worried that you're taking a whole 500 shillings from a payslip that is already heavily taxed. That's where the problem was. I mean, and then again, the money you're taking from me, I am not going to utilize because I'm never going to buy that house, or I'm never going to get it. So I believe that the president's intentions from the beginning were always good. The manifesto in UDA is actually cool, it's good, but the methodology of implementing it, having allowed certain people not qualified to sit around those projects, is the problem. Because now, Fred, if I finish, because now we are arguing and our concerns are about procurement and the model of funding that particular housing project, and who is being given those tenders, and who is been requested to bring the trucks to carry these, who is supplying the cement, who is the company that is doing this project. These are the issues. I don't think the issues is that if we see many houses built by Kenya Kwanza in Nairobi, we will puke. No. Okay.
And away from the urbanization discussion, I'm more interested in the politics of it, because you will not escape this one. He was in your constituency when he said you will not hand over power.
I understood it differently, and I want to tell you.
But he said it himself.
I've told you, you have to put it in context. The first thing he did was the president came and elaborated his 6-point agenda. He talked about housing, he talked about his empowerment program, he talked about what he's doing to fix education, all those things. Then he moved further and said, look, the people opposed to me have one agenda. Ruto must go. Then the question was, I am doing all this. This is my agenda. The agenda is Ruto must go. How do you want to hand over power to such a people whose agenda is not public?
Let's listen to what the president said. Let's not
let me
misquote him.
finish my point and then we'll go there. There's something critical he told you that the president is talking. And you have to listen from his story.
Okay, let's continue with the politics.
Yes.
Because the issue is the president appears already act.
No, he wasn't angry. I know him when he's angry.
Let's listen to him.
On that day, he was, in fact, he had the best of his day.
Hawa watu wengine hawana mpango, musipoteze na we cannot hand over to people hawana mpango. Ati mpango yao Ruto must go. Sasa Ruto must go itakusaidia na nini? Hujui vile vijana wetu watapata kazi, hujui vile kilimo itaendelea, hujui vile watoto watasoma, huna mpango ya ajira ya vijana. You have no plan to do anything.
You can never control your words, and this must be important. Yes. This world, according to biblical, I don't want to say mythology, biblical theology, this world was created by God by mere word, speaking. So words are critical, very important in fact. So much so that a head of state, once you have said your words, you can't control them. You cannot even try to interpret what you meant. It is left to us. So here, Honorable Nambwera is really trying to dress him, but he actually said,
but it's very clear.
He said he will not hand over power. And that is,
no,
that is the
just go back. He's saying these are not the kind of people you can hand over power to.
You see, now yesterday he was talking about how he will not be defined by time. Yes, because he's a man on a mission.
Indumuli, you know, Kenyans, you have a problem. A leader, I define a leader in Mahatma Gandhi's word. He's not supposed to take you where you want. He's supposed to take you where you are supposed to be. Not where you want. I mean, if you want mediocrity, he takes you to mediocrity. A president is a vision carrier. The only thing Nyaribo has told me, which makes sense to me, you define where you want to go. Please carry everybody to go with you. Mm-hmm. But please, it is not where everybody wants to go. There are people here who don't want to go anywhere. So do you say, because you want not to go anywhere, we leave the country to be in that mediocrity? No. We have tried to do this universal health care since Kibaki's time. We couldn't fix it. So he decided, let me bite the bullet. Is it not working now? It's moving towards the right direction. That's what a leader is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you must make a hard decision. Like you are asking him today, the institutions, the institutions have given you Kanja. Do you keep Kanja and continue working with the Kanja who is clueless about security? You are asking the president to make a hard decision. That yes, the institution gave you me, but I'm saying you are not worth it.
He does not sound distracted to you because of the noise that's happening? That back to the same question, that he appears to have lost a bit of control?
That's what I'm saying. And then you must act tough. You must make the critical decisions. That's what a head of state.
Fred, I wanted to clarify something very important. In terms of Kanja, for example, I have been to Kanja's office for assistance. Then I have read his stories from the past. To be very honest with you, if you get an officer of that level, of that sort of, you know, the tone, the welcoming interest in people, look at how he handled the Dusit crisis. He is one officer, if facilitated and aided, is one of the best officers in the police force. And then you look at the person's history. What has he done? You know, we know all these people, and what has he not done? So, and then his pious demeanor as a person. He is not that bad. He is actually a very good officer. Where issues have come up is in terms of leading the security docket, certain elements have come up to try to issue orders. You remember when he talked about abduction, he said, abduction is not coming from Vigilante House we are not ordering anybody. And then you listen to Justin Muturi, he spilled all the beans. Who is abducting people? Then head of state comes and says, no, we will make sure this thing stops. So when you add this 1+1 and Kenyans are intelligent, you agree that there are people infiltrating the functions of the National Police Service. They are not leaving it to the Inspector General to run. But coming back to what my brother is talking about, where the president is going to take us and where we have come from, Kenya has a psyche. Kenya has a dream as a nation, and it started in 1963. There are no new dreams we are being given. And when you come up, you've seen how, I mean, you're a politician, and every other 5 years you bring up a policy, I mean, a manifesto. If you bring it outside the dreams of Kenyans, we will reject it. And you can see that. By the way, I took SHA personally, and I'm happy to tell you that I went to hospital and they were asking me, I have an insurance anyway, but they were asking me, if you have SHA, it will cushion you.
Yes.
And actually it did some magic. So it is not all bad, Fred. We are not complaining about SHA or housing in terms of giving people universal health care. We are complaining that this e-citizen bill number you have told us to pay to, who does it go to? Then when we investigate, it is domiciled somewhere outside the country. Then when we look at how much has gone in there, we do not see the money that has gone in there. So that is why I talked about systems. If the systems were working in our country, this kind of e-citizen pay bill number will bring money to the exchequer, and we will see that there is money inside there, and the counties will be given money. So implementation has been the issue. Even for the president to say we need a good housing scheme, urbanization, nobody wants, to be honest, and I'm not being disrespectful of people in Mabandas, but nobody wants to go, we want to come out of Mabanda and come to live in more better concrete houses and have good health care and then be called people. We are not assistant human beings. So how can this be done? That's where we differ with the head of state.
Where is the problem? Is the head of state too distracted? He insists on a mission, but he appears a bit distracted such that some of his policies are not working properly.
The issue is, from where I see it, is the team.
It's the team, eh?
It is the team. You know, I started by saying that there's something you learn from Kibaki. Give technocrats to do what they can do. Let politicians do what they can do. I think this constitution also had a very good reason why they wanted to depoliticize the executive. Actually, that is the intention of the constitution, to depoliticize the executive. Actually, if we had lived to that, we would not even have gotten into this issue of shares and all that nonsense. We wouldn't. Get the right people. I'm not saying the poor there are not right, but the capability to run with his speed, to run with his agenda. Look at it this way. In some of the ministries up to now, we've run with 3 ministers. That tells you there's something. He's talked so well about ganja. I also want to tell him, from my background as a HR person, you can have a very good officer, very good, but he can't manage people. He can't manage resources. In Toyota, the guy who has designed so many models have never been promoted to be the CEO because he has no capability to be the CEO, but he's a good designer. Ganja is a good officer, an operative person. But if he can appoint Nyaga, because that was his appointment, if he can appoint Nyaga,
that's a failure.
Then he does not know the resources around him. He has better people around him.
Is that the same failure for the president?
That's what I'm saying. You have to look at the capability you have. And the president can have, I've said, and I will give you a good example. I may, from my own understanding, if the president can get the category of Davis Chirichir, a man who works with data, a man who would respond to data, a man who's capable to see. Like there's a road that has been cancelled in my area and been re-advertised yesterday. Simply because he just looked at the figures and asked, how much is a kilometer to tarmac? 180 million. He said, gosh, 180 in a rural area. So what would you do on a national highway if you are tarmacking with 180? But normally in Kenya, it would have gone, and the people share the other money.
Honorable, please, before I lose that point, the issue here, Fred, is you don't need then to go to Chirchir alone to understand that 180 is excessive. You need systems.
But that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, you need systems.
The rural system is people.
Yeah, that's true. But you know, it's systems where even you can tap in and see there is a quotation for 180 million, and you just put.
That's what I'm telling you. The moment, because it's the head, the moment the people working in the chain understands that there is somebody who can pick out this, they will just align to the system. But the moment they realize they can get out with murder, you listen to that Mokwana. Do you think that was the first thing it was happening for the first time?
Of course not.
Not.
Of course not.
But if somebody had been picking it, not do it.
All right. We have 6 minutes left. I'll give you each 3 minutes just for your final comments. We've talked about so many things. Do you feel that the president is a bit overwhelmed? Let's start with you, Wakili.
I believe that Kenya is still a great nation, and I believe very strongly that the president had good intentions looking at the manifesto, even the UDA manifesto itself. I mean, the wheelbarrow, the bottom-up economy, the hustler nation, Mama Mboga, it was all meant to be good. I think it has kept him, it has kept his attention that once people have listened to you, they are also listening to you for several various reasons. And he was unable to understand that the infiltration and the influx of people who have listened to you and heard you and know you are head of the nation, commander-in-chief, they would use you in certain ways. And it seems to me that he was unable to quickly close those, loopholes to ensure that whoever comes in to work with him is going to put people's interests first, and is going to ensure that the implementation of his projects was to at least go even up to 40%, Fred, of the expectations and the promises you have given people. People would forgive you. But where it is right now, it's everybody for themselves and God for us all. It seems like when his PA is speaking in public, he's saying something. When his close ally is saying in public something, it means something else. When he comes out to speak, they are totally disjointed. And this is, I believe, where the problem is. If the president can recoil, can go back to where he started and ensure that, and he's very lucky as a head of state to have Raila sit with him. They can sit down and say, we may not be re-elected in 2027, fine, that's another story. And he has said that, don't insist on like he has to be. He has said, I'm not even counting on the other 5. In these 5, I want to do it right. So I think that they should sit down with Raila Odinga, and Raila Odinga should come out and say, did you expect to do a partnership for blood's sake, where people are being killed in the street every day? And they should agree then that we will do 2 to 3 things right, whether we will be re-elected or not. Kenyans are so fluid in terms of changing their minds. Why? Because they are intelligent. Kenyans are very, very intelligent, by the way, and intelligent people change their minds. So they should pick 2 to 3 areas they want to address to at least save them from this bad image, so that in 2027 we discuss on elections proper as elections. You have done this, we will re-elect you. You have not done this, on this basis, we will not re-elect you. So I still believe there is hope for the country.
All right?
Yes. First of all, I don't want to say the president is overwhelmed. He is up to the task. What he needs to do is to fix the human capital at the top. The people to assist him. I'd want to see many bodies. People can engage. I would like to see many chirichirs. People can engage. I would like to see people who respect systems. People who would want to work with the established structure. Number 2, we must keep the eye on the ball. One thing I share with Nyaribo, we cannot do everything at the same time. Let's fix education. Let's fix infrastructure. Let's fix healthcare. Those are critical drivers of the economy. And one thing, Nyaribo and Indumuli, I want to be very proud about this budget. The areas that had been disenfranchised in terms of infrastructure, for the first time, they have got money. The western part of the country, the coastal part of the country, that they could not get tarmac roads for many, many years. The debts we are paying money for particular regions only and Nairobi. This time you're going to pay money, at least you can see a road in Teso, you will see a road in Kuria, you will see a road in Kisii. That kind of equity has been lacking, and at least we have tried to address it in this budget. As we discuss the finance bill, I will ask the Kenyans, please, 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 peace is critical. But then, can we participate in this debate we are having in the House this week, next week? All right. Because that is where the rubber meets
the road.
The road. And my brother, I also want to send an appeal to the Inspector General. Sometimes people should learn from Boynet. Maybe he needs to seek out Boynet, the former NIS, the first NIS Director General. When he told President Moi, the late, that look, a professional job must be done in a professional way. Kanja must come out and please, at the end of the day, Kenyans expect him to run the police.
Boynet was NIS or National Police?
No, NIS, the first Director General. Kenyans expect that a National Police Service is an independent entity. He should be able to come out and cut his cloth, bite his teeth. We can't keep scapegoating.
Okay.
No, we can't. We can't keep scapegoating.
Thank you so much, Nabina Bwera, MP Lugari, and Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo, our panelists this morning. Yes, there are so many important things this country should be discussing, including the budget and appropriations as well as the finance bill. But this morning, the Standard front page, killer police. Daily Nation, anarchy. The Star, cops plunging Ruto into fresh crisis. And the People Daily, anarchy shooting on day of protest. This is what we're talking about. And you will struggle to find any discussion around the budget in any of these dailies today, even as the National Assembly focuses on that discussion. Asanteni sana for your time until 47. After the break, we switch gears and talk matters relationships, situationships. That question, what are we? Anu Dida will be conducting that interview after this. My name is Fred Indimuli. Good morning.